at the top of the hour. We've got people who have joined us, and as we know from these webinars, it takes people a couple minutes to get signed in first. So we'll just take care of some housekeeping to get started. And my name is Mike Bordenaro. I am the Communications Director for the Asset Leadership Network, and thank you for your interest in this webinar series. Things have been developing very well. We are today having a presentation from not the Strategy and Planning Work Group webinar, but from the Organization and People webinar. We'll be hearing from Jack Kelly. Robert Smith is the work group leader, and I'm sorry I have him as Strategy and Planning. That is not the case. He's the Organization and People work group leader, and as I said, my name is Mike Bordenaro. And just a very quick overview about ISO 55000 and why we're doing these work groups. ISO 55000 is a management system, has 3 key sections. One's an overview, one is the system requirements, and one is guideline for application. There are 7 main sections of ISO 55000: organization, leadership, planning, support, operation, performance, evaluation, and improvement. However, we have divided work groups into a set of asset management elements: strategy and planning, organization and people, decision making, life cycle management, knowledge management, risk and review. And Jack Kelly will be talking about those briefly, but the work groups last year presented recommendations to the new administration, and this year, in addition to developing implementation recommendations for the new administration, we're having special presentations, and upcoming will be the Building Smart Alliance Thought Leadership. We have 4 members of that team that are going to be presenting their federal case studies, and at the very end in June, City of Calgary is going to be giving us a case study of their implementation. So I also want to thank Onuma Inc. for sponsoring this, and especially Young-Koo Kim, who has been very good through this and all of the Onuma webinars. So Jack Kelly, he is our man on the scene. There is an infrastructure seminar going on right now, and Jack Kelly is calling in from the Ronald Reagan building. Jack, can you hear us, or did we lose you?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I probably sound like I'm in a great big hall because I am. So Mike, go to the next slide for a second.
I'm on what I learned.
Yeah, go to the next one. Then we'll back up to this one. So when Mike talked about the international standard, ISO 55000, and the 3 different documents, and he talked about how those documents were organized. And they're kind of organized by, kind of by subject matter, presented one way. And when I read the standard, it was just a lot of really good, very high-level, common sense principles, but it was just so much of it that I had a hard time getting my mind around it. And it wasn't until I saw this chart, which is the Institute for Asset Management conceptual model of an asset management system, that all of a sudden all that language in the ISO standard came together in a way that was really powerful. Because what this says is an organization begins with a strategic plan. What are your goals for the organization? And then the asset management system elements come into play. The first one is asset management strategy and planning. So that's the element where you say, all right, now that we know what our goal is, what assets do we need to accomplish our goals? And then that's at a very high level, and you produce a strategic asset management plan in that phase. And then you have to make very detailed decisions. So what assets do I buy? How often do I maintain them? Very detailed decisions that lead to operational actions, which is what's in that circle. What I'm going to acquire it, I'm going to operate it, maintain it, and dispose of it. That's the asset management life cycle. And all of those operational activities are supported by other elements that are also critical. So for example, organization and people enablers. It's critical that you have the right people in place who have the right level of training and skills to do the jobs that the organization requires. You also have to be, all of your decision making, all of your activities have to be supported by information, by data. You need to have the right information to make those decisions. And looking at the right side, all of your decisions from the initial plans to disposing of property have to be informed by the risks associated with the situation you face and the decisions you make. So all these things are really critical, and they all have to come together. So now we can go to the first slide. So what this told me was that to be successful in improving the management of your assets, that would be the third slide. I need to see the one you had first, Michael. What the chart told me was to be successful, you have to consider all of the systems elements. And one of my favorite metaphors is having spent years in the federal government working on the reform of various asset types, what I realized is that work was, in a medical sense, they were Band-Aids. They were trying to solve very specific problems. What the ISO standard is, it's a set of principles that lead you to a lifestyle change. So in other words, the organization is going to behave better, it's going to function better. You may need the occasional Band-Aid, but Band-Aids will be an exception, not a way of life, which is kind of what we have now. The other thing is that the standard does, it says the enterprise perspective is important. Because if you think about it, you know, ideally, if you have an enterprise view of your assets, then you're better set up to make trade-offs between one category of assets and another. Most often, in the federal government at least, assets are managed in stovepipes, and that leads you to sub-optimized decisions when you could make better decisions if you thought across all the asset categories. And the final thing is, a lot of people in the federal government get nervous because they say, "Oh my God, you're just going to lay more guidance on us." The standard, the principles in the standard are not guidance. They are high-level principles that you use to develop guidance. It's principles that tell you who has to be around the table and what roles you need to make sure you've brought together to make certain kinds of decisions. And different organizations are going to apply these principles in different ways to achieve their results, which is fine. It's just that the principles themselves are powerful and should be, you know, and can add value to organizations. Now go to the very last one. And what's the opportunity? The standard ISO 55000 promises to be widely recognized in adoption. We've got some toeholds in the federal government, and what we do in the Asset Leadership Network is try to expand those toeholds. If it's implemented properly, you'll have a greater assurance that the right things are being done. It's going to link assets to mission, which people often just manage assets because they got them. They don't ever go back and think, well, how does this support mission? And it's going to help make sure that organizations realize maximum value from their assets. So that's what we're up to, and that's why this is important. Now, what Bob is going to talk to you about today is the kind of the readout from his work group. So I'll turn it over to him.
Well, while we're switching over to Bob, I just want to say that if you have any questions, there is a spot on the right-hand side, and please enter questions at any time. We don't have to wait until the end. If there's something you want to discuss, go ahead. And again, before I turn it over to Bob, I want to thank Jack for taking time from his day at the CGLA infrastructure event, where I know he is involved with some of the colleagues from Booz Allen Hamilton, who we've been working with and are about to go public with a roundtable report on federal asset management. And that's something that I think is going to expand our toehold, as Jack was explaining. So, Bob?
Okay. Can you see my kind of the blank screen here?
Yeah, and like I said, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. So can you tell us a little bit about both your role at commissioning agents and your long-term relationship with the Asset Leadership Network?
Sure. Again, my name is Bob Smith. I'm with a company called Commissioning Agents. They do a variety of services, primarily in the pharmaceutical industry, but we're expanding into other industries now. My particular role is in the asset management, maintenance, and reliability area. So that's what kind of drew me to the Asset Leadership Network. Jim Dieter, the founder, pulled everybody together, I think, towards the end of 2013. And so I was one of the first ones as we did the planning meeting to actually form the organization. So it's been a great organization, a lot of great things going on. I see more and more now that we're into our 4th year. It's just amazing the amount of effort and the things we've been able to accomplish in that period of time. So.
And you're also still involved in the ISO, aren't you?
Yes, I'm on the U.S. Technical Advisory Group and part of the ISO. It's called TC Technical Committee 251. After they published the ISO standards in January 2014, they kind of took a break because it was a fairly long process to get to that point. And now within the last couple of years, they've got everybody back together. There's a lot of new activity going on. They're revising ISO 55002 because it was, of the 3 documents, that was probably the weakest of the 3. That is supposed to explain a little bit more about how you go about implementing the standards and complying with the ISO 55001 requirements. So that is in the process of being revised. Hopefully late this year we should see the revision for that coming out. And I know there's a couple of new standards coming out, one specific to the federal government and another one talking about accounting and finance. So that's pretty exciting also. So
the Asset Leadership Network continues to be the place for people to get information on the ongoing developments of ISO 55000.
Yes, yes. And they're having meetings about every 6 to 9 months around the world. I missed out on the last one, which was in Brisbane, Australia. The next one is going to be, I think, in February 2018, and that's going to be in Paris. So it's very active, very good representation from the U.S. I think it's going really well.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Why don't we move on with your slides now?
Okay. Again, the working group that I have been participating in is the Organization and People work group. And one of the topics we touched on back in October, and we've done a little more research into it, is the skilled workforce shortage. So that's going to be our topic for today. Again, the work group members, go ahead.
So it's not just for the topic for today. This is the focus of your work group for this year, and you're hoping to refine your activities for presentation in November. So of the many things that you could be addressing related to organization and people, you're focusing on this training and education aspect.
Yes. And part of the reason was the information we were able to get as far as the gap we've got right now in the skilled trades, and with all the discussion with the infrastructure, investing more and more money in infrastructure and trying to bring more manufacturing back to the U.S. This is only going to get worse. Kind of adding on to that is the baby boomer exodus that's happening. You know, we've got more and more people that are leaving the workforce, and we're not seeing a lot of the younger generation kind of filling some of these gaps. So
yes,
that was why we really kind of were looking at this area. As far as the members, we have Obadiah Aguilar, who's the property manager for the National Weather Service. Jack Kelly and I kind of worked as the facilitators, and then commissioning agents has 3 people that have been helping us with this. Mike Amstead, who's our knowledge management manager. Dave Abakunis is a asset management, maintenance reliability subject matter expert. And Jeff Hall is in charge of we have a new business area. Because this has become such a big area, we've actually dedicated and set up a whole new business area within commissioning agents to respond to the influx of requests we've had to help with training and development programs. Again, the conceptual model that we talked about earlier, our focus is on the organization and people side. Through the IAM, they have 6 subcategories within that, and one of them is competence management. That's the section we're talking about. Within that, and Jack helped kind of put these together, there were 3 underlying themes that we talked about back in October. The one that we're focused on this year, again, is how adequately our organization staffed to perform these responsibilities as far as asset management responsibilities, and how well are they trained. We talk about the skilled workforce. There's a report that's put out every year, and this is some of the findings from this report. You know, why employers say it's hard to fill positions. It's a lack of available applicants, and the hard skills, which are the technical skills, technical competencies, they have issues with those. Again, for the 5th consecutive year, skilled trades are the ones that are hardest to find, not just here in the U.S., but globally, followed by IT. And in the skilled trades, again, it's anywhere from electricians to carpenters to even in the process controls area, instrumentation. There's a lot of those kind of skills that are just difficult trying to find the right people or trying to get people to even apply for those kind of positions. As we can see, too, from 2009 to 2016, this has steadily gotten worse. You know, it's gone from 30% up to 40% now, and an increase of 2% from 2015. So, again, this came from the talent shortage survey that Manpower Group puts out every year.
And this isn't really news. This has been predicted for a long time. So I think what's exciting about the work that you're doing, helping lead, Bob, is addressing this head on.
Yes, you know, one of the things that helped the situation to some degree when the economy took a dive, 2008, 2009 timeframe, I think many of the baby boomers delayed their retirements. So, I mean, not for a bad situation, but it helped not to see the you know, as bad as the situation is going to continue to get, I think. Now with the economy doing better, I think you're going to see more and more of the baby boomers actually retiring and getting out of the workforce. So a couple of the areas we looked at in the skilled trades are apprenticeship programs. And one in particular is a German apprenticeship model. The German American Chamber of Commerce was actually, I guess we'll go through here first. I'll just give you a couple quick more topics here. The German companies.us listed there's 37 either headquarters and branch offices of German subsidiaries in the U.S. So why the German apprenticeship model? Those 3,700 companies went back to Germany and said, look, you know, the U.S. does not have anything like this. We're struggling to get you know, skilled workforce to be able to take care of all the manufacturing jobs they had. So because of that, this German-American Chamber of Commerce partnership has brought that program over and is slowly implementing it across the United States. And we'll go over a little bit more about what's entailed with that. It's a great program, and I think it's definitely going to go a long way to help us.
And it was based on something that they had been using in Germany already. So in addition to the years it's been working for the German-American Chamber of Commerce, it was working in Germany also.
It was actually started back in the 60s. And so they've really kind of honed this. They have, I don't know how many different curriculum sections to develop for multiple different areas. So it's very easily customizable for any manufacturer, depending on the type of skill and competencies that you need. They can piece these together and have a good solid program. As far as the GACC, they have 7 locations in the U.S. to try to cover the entire U.S. And there's different things happening in each of these different locations. As far as a German dual apprenticeship model, I'll explain what the dual means here in just a couple minutes. It's an innovative and kind of industry-leading approach. Yeah, it's been benchmarked, and it's really and this is their words, but I feel the same too, is that it's a gold standard of a practical educational model developed in conjunction with technology leaders. So it isn't something that a German think tank just thought up. They work with schools, both high schools and community colleges, and they work with industry to make sure they're developing and they're producing the type of skills and talent that is needed in the workforce, you know, out in industry. And again, it's a good combination of practical, theoretical, and actually work hands-on experience. Again, companies get a tailored training program, get great employee loyalty. I explained a little bit about how that's generated, and you get a high-quality candidate pool. As far as the programs, they're designed for the companies, so they're not just some generic, you know, degree that someone's coming out that they can't apply from day one. These starts actually in the 10th grade, so they're really kind of mentoring and tutoring these people all the way through high school, so that when they graduate, they're ready to be a productive member of the industry. How it works, again, it's a private-public partnership between industry, community colleges, and high schools. There's a selection process. So in the past, skilled trades, and even probably today, have kind of a negative image, that it, you know, not really that skilled, maybe not very well paid, you know, dirty work, things like that. It doesn't have a very good image. We've pushed for so many years for the 4-year degrees, and the emphasis being on, you know, getting the 4-year degrees, because that's where the best paying jobs are, that's where there's the most opportunities. And we're finding that the skilled trades, there's a lot of great different opportunities in the skilled trades area, a lot of computer technology, process controls, just a variety of almost anything you can think of. And a lot of the people coming out of a 4-year degree program don't necessarily have the skills that industry is looking for right now. So I think this is a much better approach. Companies will sponsor the high school students, so they only have a select number of openings each year, and they have a company sponsor for each of those openings. We have, in commissioning agents in the Atlanta area, one of my fellow employees his daughter was selected for this program with a company called Yokogawa. So Yokogawa sponsored her to start into this program, and I think it's around a $5,000 fee each year through the 3-year process for that company.
The company pays the fee, not the student. And what this does is give the student an ability to say, I am doing something that's going to result in a job in a similar way that somebody might be saying, I'm going to go to X college because it's going to help me get the type of job I want. So I think it's really innovative to be starting so early.
And these kids actually will start working at a community college typically sooner, or as soon as other ones that decide they want to go to a 4-year degree. So it's college oriented, and I think that's helping to improve the image, you know, of the skilled trades.
Right. Because nowadays, skilled trades, you do need those computer skills, you know, even to be a bricklayer. Mm-hmm. You could be programming a machine that is stacking things for you. So
this little graphic down here is a little hard to see, but if you go to their website, it gives you a rough idea of what a sample program looks like, both from a company training standpoint, college education, the exams that they have to take. It's definitely a very detailed, well laid out process and program.
Can you say what that website is, Bob?
I think I've got it on one of the slides here.
Okay.
Yep, it should be coming up, I think.
All right.
This one, and you can get to it from this website down here, that is germany.info skills initiative.
Okay.
But this is recently updated. This just shows the different types of companies. And initially, this was started to support German companies in the U.S., but it's open to all. company. So you don't have to be a German company to participate in this program.
And could you be a federal agency?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. It's something I can definitely follow up on.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, this is Jack. I think probably not.
Okay. But you would be a company that's working for a federal agency, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That for sure. I would think absolutely contractors who, like, let's say facilities management contractors, people that come in and manage entire facilities like for energy and NASA and so forth, they would definitely have a need for some of these skills.
Okay, excellent.
One of the things they looked at the German American Chamber of Commerce, it's a 3-year process. When they're all done, they will start out at higher wages. The high school students actually work part-time from the 10th grade all the way through the 12th grade at the sponsor company. So they start out not at the top wage, but they start out above minimum wage, and they learn the basics. They learn the company policies and procedures the first year. The next year they start getting a little bit of hands-on, and in the third year they do more hands-on. So it's quite a balancing act to some degree, that they are doing their core high school requirements, they're doing college courses, and they're doing some hands-on at the sponsor company. So they have a proof of skill. So by the time they're done, the company has a lot of confidence that they have exactly the skills they're looking for. Hiring costs are less for the company. The company has those 3 years to make sure this person is going to be a good fit, and they teach them the culture of the company. So usually it's a very smooth transition. They're finding more loyalty. So once the student graduates and they start with this company, they see that as a big plus, and they see less risk for the company using this type of a process, rather than hiring someone off the street that may have an impressive resume, but may not necessarily have exactly the skills they're looking for. And we'll talk about it a little bit more, but the nice thing at the end of those 3 years, when that high school student graduates, they have their high school diploma, they have a technical associate's degree, and they're guaranteed 2 years of employment through their sponsor company.
That's the kind of thing that students want to be able to brag about to the other students, and that's what I was saying is awesome.
Oh yeah, I think it's great.
So, go ahead, Bob.
Oh no, I'll just move on to the next one. Go ahead.
We've got some input that I wanted to share from our attendees. Brad Provanza, sorry if I didn't pronounce that quite properly, he wanted to share a great training quote from Larry Vanderberg, formerly with BOMI. The only thing worse than training an employee and having him or her leave the organization is not training the employee and having him or her stay. And Brad is a Deputy Director of the DoD Washington Headquarters Services Facility Services Directorate. And that's exactly the point we're trying to make. So thanks for pointing that out, Brad.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I've heard that over and over again, and that's so true. There's so many companies that are afraid that they invest this kind of money that they're going to, lose that person, and it makes so much sense to train them, even if you do eventually at some point lose them. As far as the student benefits, again, they get theoretical and practical training in a company setting. They're guaranteed employment. They end up with hands-on experience that goes along with a lot of the theoretical training that they get. Gives them a little a leg up on any either high school student or even a person coming out of 2 years of community college that maybe has, again, the theoretical, but they've never worked in the industry. Again, either minimal to no student debt, and I'm not sure what the minimal is. There may be some things the student may be required to pay for. I know there's summer internships, things like that too. So I think it works out very well, for the student and for the sponsor. company, and also both for the high school and the community college.
Right.
And again, the 2 years of guaranteed employment. On the employer side, again, you got a guaranteed specialist with company-specific skills by the time they graduate in their senior year. You know, the program's tailored for them. Basically, you know, new capabilities and of a high-quality workforce, again. Helps the company image. It shows that that they're doing what they can to try to help improve the situation with the skills gap. It's recognized internationally. It saves on recruiting costs, because sometimes you can spend a lot on recruiting costs and not have either the skill set you need, the competencies, whatever. You know, it's just, this is a great way for them to be able to help this person develop over those 3 years. And I think during that time they gain a lot of connection between the student and the company. And again, they're seeing better retention. So that was a German model that is spreading across the United States. There's another one called Pathways in Technology, PTech. And I know New York State, across the state, has adopted this, and there's several other locations around the United States, and I guess also in Australia, where they're adopting this type of a skilled trades training program. It starts out in 9th grade and actually goes to, they call it 14th grade. So again, it's similar, where they're going to get the theoretical, practical, they're going to get hands-on experience. A company will sponsor them, but they stay until the 14th year through the high school, but in conjunction with the community college. Again, they see it as helping to close the gap, between college and careers, and providing specific skills needed by the employers, and they're focused on high growth industries. IBM is one of the major sponsors of this PTech program.
So, Bob, it's safe to say that your work group has decided to focus on training programs that exist. And if any of those who are participating or listening want to suggest others or want to join your work group and shine a light on other training programs, they'd be more than welcome.
Exactly. These are just a couple examples. I'm sure there's other great programs that are going on too, but these are the couple that we've zeroed in on that we've been able to identify. But I'm sure, like you said, there's probably multiples out there that are working hard to close this gap.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with the PTech, which I think also with the German program, is the students see themselves as college students and starting in the 9th grade. So a lot of times kids won't think about college until maybe they start getting to sophomore, junior, maybe even senior year. They start focusing in on their career path in the 9th grade. And sometimes you may look and say, well, 9th grade, how many kids really know what they want to do? Well, the first 2 to 3 years of this program are fairly generic. They don't start specializing until they get into the 3rd, 4th, 5th year. So the first couple years, it gives them an opportunity to see what types of things are out in the industry and to really kind of solidify what direction they want to go into. So I think it's great to get them started early on, so that way they can, see what's available and really, zero in on what they'd like to do.
Mm-hmm. It's a subtle difference from the earlier program, but I think a really important one.
And on this PTech program, I think it's ptech.org is their website. There's some YouTube videos on there. There is one young person on there that at the end of his senior year, he was able to graduate and complete the program, but the only way he was able to do that is during the summers. He continued on with this program through the university, or through the community college, and through the sponsor company. So he didn't have to really go all the way through the 14th year. If they're ambitious or they know exactly what they want to do, they can actually accelerate this program. This was just an example of a model showing, you know, the types of things they would do in 9th, 10th, you know, on up through the 14th grade.
It's a little hard for us to read, but we can understand that there's a structure, achievements, goals set up, something that would allow the students to feel comfortable with their path forward.
Yes. And again, to see this in probably a little better detail, if you go to ptech.org, all this information is readily available on there. Some of the key elements, again, it focuses on careers, college degrees. It's basically redesigning the high school experience. It's a diverse student body. They said this really was not designed. Years ago, there were kids that would go on a path for VOTEC or through college or whatever. This is really not, there's no one right path. So it's not like this is only for kids that want vocational training or, you know, and that. I mean, the skilled trades anymore encompass IT skills, like you said, process controls. There's so many different areas, more higher tech areas now that traditionally were never there, you know, years and years ago.
But this is a accelerated path to having a job and making a living, and if we can partner this with some of the infrastructure spending that's coming up, we could do our country a lot of good.
Yep, I agree.
So while you're finishing this up, I'm going to put a couple of our attendees on the spot. I'd like to know if the National Academies has any training programs that we might want to include in this work group. And also someone from another work group has signed in, and I wanted to see if there's any thought that their work group would be able to kind of meld with this one. So if you chat or ask a question, we can see that, and we can turn on your microphone at the speaking period.
So Mike, let me jump in here now for a sec. You know, one of the things that it's interesting about, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you go? Okay, so one of the things that's interesting about a lot of associations, and Bob's going to mention NPMA and the National, what is it, National Association for Manufacturers. A lot of existing associations have programs to train or to upgrade the training of the existing workforce and to certify their skills at various levels. What's so remarkable about this and kind of unique and new to me is this is talking about preparing people coming into the workforce with the necessary skills, not just, but what struck me is that the part, you know, if we can get people like the NPMA and National Automotive, National Association of Manufacturers and other groups that offer training for existing people, if we can get them to embrace the idea to support training for people coming into the programs, that would be fantastic. And that's what I'm hoping we can end up doing. And the ALN can help kind of piece some of those elements together and sort of do what we say we do, and that is create this network of people who want to help improve the skills coming into the workforce. I will tell you that this particular topic, I didn't realize how timely it was until I got to the conference today. This morning we had a Congressman, Glenn Thompson from Pennsylvania, talked about his concern about this very issue because in his district in Pennsylvania, they have companies that are just begging for skilled workers. And later on in the afternoon, a guy who works for TradePoint Atlantic, which is basically they're developing the old Sparrows Point, production facility near Baltimore into an industrial development zone. He says one of their big frustrations is the inability to say to businesses that want to locate there that there will be a guaranteed stream of sufficiently skilled workers when they come. So this is a big problem. I hadn't realized it until Bob brought it to my attention. I'm done.
Well, despite the fact that there's a little bit of feedback and echo there, your point is very salient, and to be able to be our on-the-spot reporter that's tying this webinar to actions in the Ronald Reagan building, I think is very significant. So thank you. Back to you, Bob.
Okay, I'll quickly cover a couple more things here. One of the key things for both of these programs is, like they're saying here, the career readiness and the smooth transition between high school, college, and the professional world, because they're actually immersed in this from either 9th or 10th grade. They start the transition, or start that smooth transition to be able to work in all three of those different areas. Instead of the traditional where I'm done with high school, now I go to college. That's a whole new, arena for me. And then once I'm done with college, now I've got to start looking at what do I do in the professional world. This really starts them in the 9th and 10th grade, and they feel very comfortable at the end of this program, where they have the skills. They're ready to, from day one, they're ready to actually produce and be a productive member of a company. And the other thing too is the need for early and engaging experiences, the world of work, academic, high school, the whole thing. So I mean, really, I think these both are very good models for helping young people, in a career path. Again, what are the types of things that we in ALN are looking to do to try to help support this effort? Again, we're promoting asset management best practices like ISO 55000, like the Institute for Asset Management. There's multiple organizations that have some very excellent material, very good documents that really help explain some of the best practices that are out there. Again, help identify and promote some of these solutions, like what the German American Chamber of Commerce is doing, PTEC. Educating the public on skilled workforce shortage issues to make sure everybody's aware of the issues and the need for this. And then again, reaching out to NPMA, National Association of Manufacturers, the American Association of Community Colleges. Those are areas that we want to reach out and try to partner with them. And then again, reaching out to industry and service providers like the company I work for, Commissioning Agents. We have Jacobs, Deloitte. We have multiple different companies that provide services to industry within the Asset Leadership Network. And so it's a great network for us to work internally with each other to help look for solutions. And then again, reaching out to government agencies. We want to make sure that the government agencies are aware of the types of programs that are available and what can be done and maybe what they can do to help with this effort.
Well, that's excellent. And we did get some feedback from Cameron Oskvig from the National Academies. He says that the National Academies itself doesn't have training programs. They generally advise the issues on issues related to educating future generations of workers. But the National Academies of Engineers is looking at preparing future generations of engineers and technical workers. So there's an area that we can look into. And the National Academies of Construction is specifically focused on this issues. Cameron says that some of the heavy industrial construction southern states are instituting programs to develop skilled workers in this way, and we'll incorporate those into this work group, and this work group may become the place where we develop a repository of these types of training programs. I probably work with national education programs. So we have another question here about other ways that organizations can get people involved in training and development. So Bob, since your company is doing some pretty innovative things related to people in organization, can you talk just verbally, not with any pictures, about some of the work that Commissioning Agents is doing?
Well, actually, I have a couple pictures here, just kind of give a rough idea of what we're doing, and I won't dwell on them too long. But let me just quickly skip over to those. Oh,
you do have slides.
Not on this one. I thought I had some slides. Nope, I didn't capture it in this one. We have what's happening with our company is we're seeing it. We're a global company, about 450 plus employees now, and across the globe, we're getting more and more requests to help develop training programs. One location I was just at, they have a particular process where they're producing pharmaceutical, they call APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients. Now they're putting in a brand new process where they're going to be doing a biotech type process. So at that site, they don't have the skills and the people to be able to do this. So they're asking us to come in, develop training programs, qualification programs, those types of things. And we're seeing more and more of that. Because of that, we've actually set up a whole different business area now called human performance. So that the human performance area is dealing with this, developing standard operating procedures, qualification programs, training programs, because even if you do have skilled workers, you bring in a brand new process and they're not familiar with it, it's going to require, again, new sets of skills and competencies and things like that. So,
with the advancement of technology these days, any professional worth their salt is getting some level of continuing education, because if you can't keep up with the latest app, then that app may put you out of work. So you've always got to be learning how to use the technology tools.
Mm-hmm. We actually have a new training center. Our corporate headquarters is in Indianapolis, and we have a training center there. Primarily, we use it for our own internal employees to train them on our processes and the FDA requirements, good manufacturing practices, all those kinds of things. But we're now opening it up more and more for our clients to bring them in. We have automation training we're doing, just a whole variety of different things. And I think that's just because we're not seeing that skilled labor force, coming out into the industry.
So then you're offering those opportunities for your own clients to bring their staff to your training center to bring them up to speed on different things that you might be able to replicate at your training center?
Yes. Some of the things are common industry, like process controls and those types of things. Our Delta V is a big software program that's used throughout the pharmaceutical industry, so they can come there and get that kind of training. And we have a mock-up of a clean-in-place skid, so they can actually, do the programming, make sure valves open, pumps start, levels are indicated, things like that, and get some hands-on training in a controlled environment.
So that's interesting that, one, you're growing at the level that you're doing. It wasn't long ago that 450 is quite an increase in your staffing, isn't it?
Yes, I started with commissioning agents about 4 years ago when we were a little over 200 employees, maybe 225. So we've almost doubled in 4 years, and the growth hasn't slowed down since I've been there. So each year, we're like by the end of this year, I think we're projecting to be well over 500 and then continuing to grow. So,
and regionally also, you're expanding. So that's
the bulk of our employees are in the U.S., but Puerto Rico and Europe and Asia. Asia is really where, again, we're seeing a very large growth over in that area, which includes India and Malaysia and Vietnam and, all those areas over there.
Excellent. Okay, somebody did also add that GoBuildAlabama.com is a program that's set up for construction training. So we'll add that to the list and look at it. And I don't mean to be nosing into the organization and people work group, but I think it probably would be good to start listing this, and we can set up a spot on our website and just start listing some of the training programs if the work group thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you, Bob, for putting that together. That was an extensive presentation on some very good programs. Jack Kelly, thank you for being our on-the-scene reporter from the Reagan building, and it was very timely comments about
Glad to do it.
And once again, thank you to Onuma Inc. for sponsoring this webinar, and like I said, specifically hats off to Young Koo Kim for pulling this all together for us. Have a good day, and please look forward to our Thursday at 3 webinars coming up. Bye for now.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.